We are taught from the moment we can understand language that hope is the highest and most noble of human emotions. When you are going through absolute hell, when your life feels completely out of your control, the world will look at you with sympathetic eyes and offer you the exact same piece of advice. They will tell you to hold on to hope. They will tell you that tomorrow will be better. They will tell you to keep your eyes fixed on the light at the end of the tunnel. Society has built an entire mythology around the concept of hope. We treat it as a lifeboat. We treat it as the singular force that keeps human beings alive in the darkest of times. But I want you to look very closely at your own life. Look at what hope actually feels like inside your nervous system. Look at the quiet, buzzing anxiety it breeds. Look at the endless waiting. If you observe your mind honestly, you will discover a dark, counterintuitive truth that goes against everything you have been taught. Hope is not a lifeboat. It is a mirage. It is a form of prolonged psychological torture that keeps you completely tethered to a future that does not actually exist. By constantly hoping that tomorrow will be better, you are quietly declaring that today is unacceptable. You are rejecting the present moment. You are abandoning reality in favor of a fantasy. To become truly free, to actually take control of your existence, you must do something that sounds entirely terrifying. You must give up on hope. To understand the destructive nature of hope, we must look at where the concept originally comes from. In ancient Greek mythology, there is the famous story of Pandora's box. The gods give Pandora a sealed jar containing all the evils, diseases, and miseries of the world. She opens it, and the curses fly out into humanity, unleashing suffering upon the earth. But at the very bottom of the jar, there is one final thing remaining: hope. Modern society interprets this as a beautiful ending. They view hope as the antidote that the gods provided to help us survive the suffering. But the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche saw it entirely differently. Nietzsche understood that the jar contained only curses. Hope was not the cure for the world's evils. It was the final and most devastating evil of them all. Nietzsche wrote, "Hope in reality is the worst of all evils because it prolongs the torments of man." Think about the profound truth of this statement. When you are in a painful situation, a toxic relationship, a soul-crushing job, a life that feels deeply stagnant, what is the exact emotion that keeps you there? It is hope. You hope the person will change. You hope the job will get better. You hope that by some magical stroke of luck, the universe will step in and rescue you. Hope keeps you frozen in a state of suffering for years, sometimes decades, because it provides just enough anesthesia to prevent you from taking action. If you did not have hope, you would be forced to look at the brutal reality of your situation. You would be forced to feel the raw disgust and anger, and that disgust would force you to pack your bags and leave. Hope does not save you from the fire. It just convinces you to sit in the flames a little bit longer. The twin of fear, we view hope as a positive emotion, but the ancient traditions of Zen Buddhism completely disagree. In Buddhism, hope and fear are not opposites. They are exact identical twins. They are two sides of the exact same psychological coin. You cannot have hope without simultaneously inviting fear into your mind. If you hope that you get the promotion, you are terrified that you will be rejected. If you hope that a person loves you, you are paralyzed by the fear that they will leave. To hope for a specific outcome in the future is to attach your entire sense of self-worth and peace to an event that you cannot control. When you hope, you are sending your consciousness out into the void of the future, begging the universe to align with your desires. You become a beggar. You become entirely dependent on external circumstances. Your inner peace becomes a hostage to tomorrow. This is the psychological equivalent of walking across a tightrope, blindfolded in a hurricane. You are completely off balance. The Buddhist nun Pema Chodron writes extensively about this trap. She says that all anxiety, all human suffering, stems from this desperate swinging between hope and fear. We spend our entire lives running away from the fear of what we do not want and chasing the hope of what we do want. And in this endless, exhausting sprint between yesterday and tomorrow, we completely miss the only thing that actually exists, right now. When I make $100,000, then I will be secure. When I find the perfect partner, then I will be whole. When I finally lose the weight, then I will be happy. This is the ultimate weapon of hope. It convinces you that your actual life has not started yet. It convinces you that you are currently living in the waiting room of existence and that the main event is just around the corner. But you have been playing this game for years. Think about the goals you had 5 years ago. You hoped for certain things. You achieved them. Did the profound, lasting peace arrive? Did the universe finally hand you a certificate of completion? No. The moment you reached the goal, the horizon simply moved. The hope instantly attached itself to a new target. You are chasing a ghost. Hope relies on the fundamental delusion that there is an alternative reality out there, a perfect timeline where you will no longer experience friction, pain, or emptiness. It tells you that if you just hold on a little longer, you will arrive at a permanent state of satisfaction. This is a lie. There is no finish line. There is no perfect tomorrow. There is only the messy, chaotic, beautiful, and sometimes agonizing reality of today. And until you give up the hope of an alternative reality, you will never have the power to master the one you are actually standing in. The liberation of hopelessness. What happens when you finally let it go? What happens when you drop the heavy, exhausting burden of hope? The idea of hopelessness terrifies us because we equate it with despair. We assume that a person without hope is a person who has given up on life, a person lying in bed, defeated by the world. But true hopelessness, conscious, intentional hopelessness, is the exact opposite of defeat. It is the ultimate form of spiritual and psychological liberation. When you give up hope, you are giving up the illusion that someone or something is coming to save you. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop waiting for the perfect emotion. You stop waiting for the pain to disappear before you decide to live. Imagine the absolute freedom of dropping the expectation that life is supposed to be easy. When you stop hoping that the storm will pass, you finally learn how to build a ship that can sail through it. The people who change the world, the people who build empires, the people who heal themselves from unimaginable trauma. They do not do it because they are blinded by naive hope. They do it because they hit rock bottom. They look around the dark room and they accept that nobody is coming. The realization that you are entirely on your own is terrifying for about 10 seconds. And then, it is the most empowering realization a human being can have. Because if nobody is coming to save you, it means you are the only one holding the pen. It means you have absolute authority over your own existence. Act 6. The Alchemy of Acceptance. When you completely abandon hope, you undergo a profound psychological alchemy. You trade hope for a much more powerful, much more reliable weapon. Acceptance. Hope is passive. Hope sits on the couch, crosses its fingers, and wishes for the world to change. Acceptance is active. Acceptance looks the monster dead in the eyes, acknowledges exactly how dangerous it is, and then picks up the sword. If you are broke, do not hope for money. Accept the brutal reality of your financial incompetence, feel the sting of it, and use that cold reality to force yourself to learn how the economy works. If you are lonely, do not hope for a savior to walk through the door. Accept that you have isolated yourself. Accept that building connections requires terrifying vulnerability, and step out into the world anyway. Hope keeps your eyes closed. Acceptance forces your eyes open. When you stop rejecting the present moment, something incredible happens. The anxiety begins to evaporate. The fear begins to lose its grip. Because fear can only exist when you are trying to escape reality. When you turn around, face reality, and say, "I am here and I accept this completely," the fear has nothing left to feed on. You stop bleeding your energy into a tomorrow that doesn't exist, and you pull all of your power back into the only place where you can actually make an impact. The absolute now. Act 7. True freedom. It is time to let the fantasy die. It is time to stop waiting for your life to begin. You do not need hope to be a strong, resilient, powerful human being. In fact, hope is the very thing keeping you weak. It is the pacifier you use to soothe yourself when the reality of your life becomes too intimidating to face. Spit it out. Embrace the beautiful, grounded, unshakable power of hopelessness. Look at your life exactly as it is. Do not paint over the cracks. Do not add a silver lining to the tragedy. Let it be flawed. Let it be difficult. Let it be entirely imperfect. When you finally give up on the illusion that tomorrow will be better, you unlock the ruthless, magnificent ability to make today matter. You stop waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel. You become the light. And you walk forward into the dark, entirely unafraid.